Life doesn't always go as planned. I was supposed to spend an entire semester exploring Europe, soaking in the cultures and building new memories. But then the unexpected happened. A sudden USCIS law forced most of us, international students, to leave Europe prematurely and return to the US. I had a choice: pack up and go back, or take one final leap into the unknown. And so I decided to backpack across 5 countries in 5 days in Europe. A dream I always had, held but never thought I would live. I called it It's Never Too Late. Was it easy? Hell no, but it was definitely worth it. Life is really good at tricking us that we are not capable enough. We don't have enough money, we don't have enough time, we don't have enough resources. But what if we just did it? Every time we overthink it, we just don't do anything. This trip wasn't just out of the blue, it was a whirlwind. When I heard about the new law and realized my semester in Europe was being cut short, I had no time to plan. With a limited budget and only a few days, I found myself sitting in my residence hall room, hunched over my laptop, piecing together what felt like an impossible puzzle. I spent hours comparing bus schedules, flight prices, and train routes. Google Maps became my best friend, helping me figure out the cheapest and fastest ways to hop between cities. At one point, I realized I could save €50 by choosing an overnight bus instead of a morning train or flight, so I decided that would be my strategy: travel at night, explore by day, and repeat. Packing was simple. I stuffed my essentials into a single backpack, and there was no room for any luxuries, just a few clothes, my travel journal, and some snacks to survive the overnight rides. Each night I boarded a bus with no idea what to expect. Would I sleep? Would I even be able to? Most of the time, the answer was no. But waking up in a new country each morning made the exhaustion totally worth it. Of course, this wasn't the luxury trip I had always imagined for my first time in Europe. It was a mix of sleepless nights, tight budgets, and constantly being on the move. But it also taught me resourcefulness, resilience, and how to find joy in the little things, like a warm croissant after a long bus ride, or an unexpected connection with a fellow traveler. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. The chaos of planning this trip at the last minute became part of the story, reminding me that even when life throws curveballs, there's always a way forward. All it takes is a little courage, a lot of coffee, and painkillers, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. My journey began in the Netherlands, where I stepped into what felt like a living Van Gogh painting. Zaandam greeted me with its iconic windmills, bright greenhouses, and a quiet charm that contrasted with the hustle of Amsterdam. But Amsterdam was vibrant. Its canals were like veins of life running through the city. I walked its cobble streets, feeling the hum of bicycles and the warm glow of a setting sun. It felt like the perfect start, both calming and energizing, as if the universe was telling me, you made the right choice. Next was Paris. It was as if I had walked into an episode of Emily in Paris, of course, except this time I was the main character, more like Nuri in Paris. I started my day at the Louvre, a place I had always dreamed of visiting. Walking through its grand halls, I was completely mesmerized by the paintings, the brush strokes, the colors, and the emotions captured in every piece. Each artwork felt alive, telling its own story. Then I finally reached her, the Mona Lisa. The room was buzzing with people, cameras clicking, and hushed whispers as everyone tried to get a glimpse. When I finally stood before it, I was struck by how much smaller it was than I would imagine. But the painting had a quite magnetic charm, and for a moment, I forgot about everything else. Then I headed to the Eiffel Tower. It was still early morning, so the sunlight spilled over the tower, casting a golden glow. Standing beneath its towering beauty, I felt like I was in a fairy tale. The quiet charm of the morning made the experience even more magical, like the city had paused just for me to take it all in. Paris was perfect. Blend of art, romance, and cinematic magic. For those few hours, I forgot the chaos of planning my whirlwind trip and just let myself exist in the moment. It was everything I had imagined. But man, little I knew, my next step was crazy. Everything's changed. The rain didn't stop for hours, and I didn't realize how unprepared I was until it was too late. By the time night fell, I was soaked, shivering, and feverish. Sitting on a quiet street corner, I started questioning everything. Was this trip even worth it? Budapest was crazy, the weather was crazy, I became so wet, the logistics were insane. No accommodations, overnight buses, waking up in a new city every morning. It doesn't make any sense now. I remembered that I had a friend in Budapest and I asked her if I can crash into her couch for the night. And God, I'm glad she said yes. I started to lose the spark that had kept me going, but in that moment, something shifted. I realized that even when things feel impossible, we can choose to keep moving forward. We woke up the second night, the weather started to be pretty better, and we went to the castle. It was beautiful and mesmerizing. I met a Hungarian band over there, and they were so nice, so talented, and they even asked me to take a picture with them because apparently I was so tall, like even taller than all the Hungarian men. That's what one of the band members said. It was so pretty and so wholesome after a crazy night that I was shivering. Italy was my saving grace. After days of crazy travel, exhaustion, and illness, Rome welcomed me with open arms. The city felt like stepping into a living history book. I wandered through the Colosseum, tracing my fingers along its ancient stones and imagining the stories it held. The Roman Forum, with its crumbling pillars and sparkling ruins, felt like a portal to another time. Every corner of the city whispered tales of resilience and grandeur. And under the golden sunlight, I felt warmth, not just on my skin, but in my soul. The food in Rome was more than just sustenance. It was therapy. The rich pasta, perfectly crisp pizza, and belty gelato weren't just meals. They were comfort, joy, and energy rolled into one. Sitting at a small cafe with a plate of carbonara, I could feel the exhaustion lifting, replaced by a quiet appreciation for the moment. Then came Venice, a place that felt like it was plunked straight out of a dream. As the train pulled into the city, I was greeted by shimmering canals and gondolas weaving their way through the water. Despite still feeling under the weather, the magic of Venice sparked something in me. I wandered through its narrow alleys, stumbling upon hidden squares and quaint bridges. The city's unique beauty was breathtaking. Gliding along the canals in a gondola, I felt like I was floating through a painting. The pastel buildings reflected in the water, the sound of the oars slicing through the canal, and the laughter of tourists. It was a symphony of life. Venice reminded me of a childhood dream I once had of becoming an architect, of creating beauty out of chaos. Italy wasn't just a destination, it was a balm for my tired spirit. Its art, architecture, and energy reminded me why I had embarked on this whirlwind trip in the first place. To seize the moment, to chase dreams, and to embrace the beauty of the world. no matter how fleeting the opportunity. Of course, this wasn't the luxury trip I had always imagined for my first time in Europe. But it was a journey for life. I learned to adapt quickly. A missed connection in Paris meant more time wandering the city streets, and a delayed bus in Venice gave me an unexpected sunset by the Grand Canal. Even though the logistics were chaotic, they became part of the journey. In those moments of rushing to catch a bus or sleeping on a cramped seat, I realized something. Sometimes the best stories come from the messy, unpolished moments, the ones you never see coming but somehow manage to navigate. This is my story. It's never too late.